Welcome into the PFF podcast. Steve Palazzolo back here with an angry Sam Monson. You're just angry today for our favorite episode of the week. It's the mailbag version. I'm going to ask you how you're doing, but I think I know the answer.
I'm doing fine. I had donuts today, so it's a good day.
We tend to have donuts on Wednesday.
Though I didn't check whether it was the cake or the, what is it, the
yeast.
The yeast. The cake or the yeast. I know one of them is nicer, but I don't know which one because I wasn't paying attention to which one when I ate them.
Quick plug for Holtman's Donuts over here in Cincinnati. We venture there every Wednesday. They've got some beautiful homemade donuts that are really good.
We really need an endorsement from them because that's free donuts right there, and that's what we're in this for.
Yeah, we're pretty much in it for free donuts, absolutely. So we go there every Wednesday, and you're still somewhat in a bad mood, or is that's your baseline? You're just...
No, I think that's my baseline. This is me.
All right, well, hopefully our emailers will cheer you up.
Okay.
We have a stack of them, and you guys are doing a fantastic job emailing us, podcasts@profootballfocus.com. We answer your questions every week, whether it's a question, whether it's a suggestion, or if it's just a play design.
Yes, those are always fun. We got a ton this week. Taylor's cracking down on the length of these podcasts, so more ended up on the cutting room floor than ever before. But that is a challenge to our listeners, I think. If your email didn't get read out this week, give it another shot. Do a better job next week and come back with a better play, a better email, a better question. Really redouble your efforts and get yourself on the air.
Well, that's how much we've evolved. We used to give trophies to everyone. Everyone that emailed pretty much got on the
show.
show.
There's no participation trophy anymore.
Yeah, so no more trophies. The more you could cut down the email too, get right to the point, make it quick, that also helps as well. That's a fair assessment, right? Isn't that easier?
Well, it certainly helps you read them.
Well, let's go. We decided I'm really good at reading them, so I will continue. First one. Hello, Steve. First of his name, Lord of all the best stats, plus that other guy. Okay. We're already off to a good start here. There's a Steve email for the ticker. So the question is, has a quarterback ever ended the year with more than 100% turnovers per turnover-worthy plays? In other words, I'm assuming the question is 100% of his turnover-worthy plays are intercepted?
Yeah, I think that's the idea, is what's the highest percentage of turnover-worthy plays has a quarterback actually had result in turnovers?
I don't have the exact number handy. I know that there's nobody that's had every single one of their turnover-worthy plays intercepted. And then the quirk to this is that there's always some what we would consider non-turnover-worthy plays that become interceptions. So there's really not a clean answer here. I do know last year when your guy like Tom Brady only had 4 turnover-worthy plays the entire regular season and 2 of them were picked off. I mean, that's a pretty high percentage. If you're up in that 50 to 75% range, that's pretty high. Matt Ryan's the other end of it this year. Only 2 turnover-worthy plays and now 8 interceptions, I believe.
This guy signs off his email, Billy from the South, and then not a particular state, just the South as a whole.
Well, yeah, I reached out to the South.
Can you be from the South as a whole? Do you not surely have to be from a state in the South? You can't just assign yourself to the whole block, can you?
No, but you could also just identify yourself as from the South.
Okay.
Which is what Billy's doing.
Also, I'm pretty sure you had not pleasant things to say about people from the South.
I reached out kindly to the South on our review podcast a couple of days ago. Yeah, that's why Billy has stepped up and sent an email my way.
I don't think it was
first of his name, Lord of all the best stats.
Yeah, I don't think it was kind the way you reached out to the South, but still.
Here's the deal. I hope I didn't disappoint by not having the exact answer. I do have to dig into the database a little bit further to see maybe the highest percentage.
Steve will find you the right answer and tweet it.
Yes, we'll find the right. Where do I put that on the map? Can you just circle? So we have a map of every state to just see... Just to make sure we want emails from every state and every country.
Well, now we're going to need to decide what actually qualifies as the South and draw that
Maryland is a part of the South, believe it. I learned that,
How can Maryland be part of the South?
Third grade geography game that I was playing. It was kind of like a guess the state game.
Right.
I'd give you 5 to 10 clues. And it was like my state is in the South.
Is there a thing?
I remember Maryland being considered in the South.
Is there a set definition of what the South is? Is this like the Mason-Dixon line where anything below that you're in the South?
I believe so. And that goes through Maryland, yeah?
I don't know. You're lucky I know what it is, let alone where it is.
All I know is I remember my third grade geography game.
By the way, you're probably the wrong person to ask this, but the Mason-Dixon line, is that as in Mason near us?
I don't think it's in Mason,
because we're
Ohio.
close to the South, right?
Yeah, we're pretty
Kentucky,
much, yeah.
that's the South.
I mean, we're
technically.
I can throw a rock into the south.
Really?
From where we are. Yeah, the river's right there, right out the window.
From where we are, you think you can hit the river from here?
Yeah, I have a cannon.
I don't think it's that big a cannon. I mean, you didn't make the big leagues. I think that's the difference.
We've gone off the rails here. Here's the deal. Circle the entire South, what you think is the South, Taylor. We'll get on the Wikipedia machine a little bit later on
And fix what you
better
circled.
define.
Yeah.
We might need to print out a different map. But yes, we want emails from every state, so we're going to start crossing those off. And every country, we do have some foreigners, again, Sam, emailing us. We love you guys. All right, next one. Dear fellow Irishman and tall guy, I'm assuming this one's to you initially. That's you, the Irishman?
Well, I am the Irishman, and you are a tall guy, so that would make sense.
Nice email to both of us. I have a question regarding teams racking up points late in the game and that people in the USA consider it disrespectful. My first sport is soccer, and it's completely acceptable for a team to keep going for goals until the final whistle, but why is it different with football? Is it because the other sports are just free-flowing games where players just play while every play in football is called/scripted, so it's more obvious when a team is piling up points? Do you think ego plays a part, or is it something else? Would love to hear your thoughts.
I think there's something to the physicality of football that makes it slightly different. I mean, if you're playing soccer, say, and you are embarrassing a team, for a start, the point differential is never getting more than like 6. You know what I mean? You're going to be 6-0 up rather than 1-0. So, I mean, it's an ass kicking, but it doesn't look terrible on the scoreboard. But when you're racking up like 100 points versus a guy that can't score, but the other thing is, I think because it's a physical thing, it just somehow you're actually physically beating up on a team that just quite clearly isn't capable of preventing you from doing it. It'd be like in MMA or boxing, if there's no ref there to pull you off the guy you're pummeling at the bottom of the canvas. Like at some point, there's a kind of mercy thing here where you're saying, "Look, you're dramatically outclassed. Let's just save this guy from the beating he's getting."
I think it has more to do with the play calling aspect of it. Now, in soccer, I don't know soccer that well, but I assume that you could play a conservative offense where you're not trying to attack the net, right?
Yeah.
But in football, it's much more obvious. It's run versus pass. And so if you're late in the game, you know that running the ball keeps the clock going. In theory, you're trying to get the game over as quickly as possible. And if you pass, there's a risk of the clock stopping, and all of a sudden that's disrespectful. I think it's just that cut and dry. Now, I'm of the minds that you just play football.
Yeah, and that's what he's saying.
I agree with that general sentiment. Just play football.
And I think in most other sports that is the case. Like even in soccer, you could basically start killing the clock to try and chew up the time if you're dramatically winning. But you wouldn't. You would go for goals 3, 4, 5, 6 because you can. But I think it's the physical thing that differentiates the two. You're not physically beating a guy in soccer. You're just embarrassing him from a skill point of view, which is unlucky, but it's not doing lasting damage to the guy. Whereas in football, you are physically pummeling your opposition.
Isn't it more insulting then to continue to physically insult them with the run game? Aren't you doing them a favor by passing?
You're insulting their skill and technique, but you're not physically destroying them as much as you could.
Baseball might be a better example too, because there really is no strategic way to stop scoring.
Yeah.
The only way, back in like high school and stuff, if we were killing a team by like 20, you'd hit a ball that like definitely should be a double, and you just kind of like hang out at first. And that's actually more embarrassing. Or there's like a wild pitch where you should score and you just don't go.
That's extremely patronizing, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's way more embarrassing than just like taking the base that's given to you. So baseball might be a better example. I used to get mad. So hitters in baseball used to get mad in blowouts if they weren't getting fastballs from pitchers, because a fastball is easier to hit. So a guy would throw like 3 curveballs or something. They'd come back to the dugout like, "Why is this guy throwing fastballs? They're up 12." And it's like, dude, just learn how to hit a curveball. That was my take. So I don't think I'm not into this whole feelings and running it up. And NFL players are going to feel bad if you lose 51-7 instead of 48-7.
I don't really like running up the score. I'm definitely a much bigger proponent of holding off when you're in lower levels, high school, college, where it's just a dramatic difference in the skill and ability levels of these guys. In the NFL, it's a little bit less so because you're all paid professionals. In theory, you should be able. The league is designed to create parity, so at some point you need to man up and just get on with it. Having said that, there are definitely times where you're 40 points up or whatever. There's no material advantage to keep throwing points on the board It's not like college where you need to put up as many points as possible so the victory looks good to the committee or whatever.
Power rankings, man.
Exactly. It's not doing you any good, so just end the game,
All right, next question. Steve, this one's addressed to me. This feels like it's going to my tally. It's addressed to Steve. So the question is Sam versus Marshall Newhouse, the Raiders tackle who scooped and fumbled on Sunday night in a 40-yard dash.
Which, by the way, was glorious.
That was fantastic. He did a great job on Twitter laughing at himself
He is
as
my
well.
new hero.
Yeah, he was pretty funny. However, to even the stakes, as I have heard tell of Sam's infamous speed in the Irish Football League, we will include the following stipulations. Based on Sam's complete dismissal of 5 Guinnesses deep for Irish dancing, we will take Sam's own words, at least 2 times that, and say that he has had 11 pints. Marshall Newhouse has just completed his off-season workouts, so he is in decent shape, hasn't been banged up by Cameron Wake or Sue, and is about as spry as a 300-pound lineman can be. All right, Steve, who do you got and why? Sam, I don't think the Guinnesses are going to slow you down.
Really? I don't think you have a sufficient appreciation for what 11 pints of Guinness is.
It's a thick beer.
Guinness is heavy.
It's thick.
11 pints of it is heavy.
Yeah, but
aside from anything else, not only is it heavy, but that's a lot of alcohol.
I really think
which is probably the broader point.
I mean, do you think you're not going to make it? 40 yards?
Well,
I'm more worried about your path rather than your speed.
Well, it's not so much. So the path would definitely not be a straight line. The issue would be if the circuitous route involved actually led me into something of, a diminishing gradient in the playing field or a hard object that would stop my path. So if you deviated from the straight line of the 40 and ran into a tree or a building or a park bench or a sign of some kind, that would be a problem.
I'm thinking this is at the Dome. This is in Indy.
Well, yeah, but
it's
it's a pretty narrow track you got to keep to there.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you could
get disqualified.
Yeah, you could be in the stands. Like you could be in the third row, face first in the concrete.
So undrunk or sober, where do you think where is your peak 40 and where are you today? Just trying to gather facts.
Peak 40 was in the 4.7s on grass. So I don't know what the grass to turf translation is.
No, don't give yourself excuses. You're barely a 4.7 guy. What do you think now?
Grass is definitely slower than turf. That Indy turf, that's got to be worth at least a tenth of a second.
No, I think it's a slow track compared to where teams work out. So what do you think you have today? You run outside right now, you're 5'1", 5?
I have no idea what I would be
5'2".
No, I got to look, the giant linemen get under 5. I got to hope that I could still get under 5 now.
You just ate 3 donuts.
Yeah, it's fuel.
You eat donuts every Wednesday. I know this about you.
I've also been working out.
Newhouse is in peak shape. 11 pints deep. I'm going with Newhouse. It's official. Newhouse will beat you
11 pints
in
deep.
An 11-pint 40.
11 pints deep, I agree. Newhouse would beat me.
We are in agreement. That was Taylor Johnson with a fantastic question. Thank you, Taylor. All right, next one. Hey, guys, first of all, I would like to take sides on who I like listening to better, but I would have to endlessly apologize for picking favorites, so I won't. So this guy's not going to choose favorites. That's fair. 50-50, sitting on the fence. He had to crawl from his igloo, ride his moose to the nearest internet point in order to write this email.
Which is his words, by the way, not us.
I am reading
mocking
his words.
the Canadians.
This is what he said. I had to crawl from my igloo, ride my moose to the nearest internet point to write this email. I do actually have a football question. It seems like since the extra point has been moved back, field goal percentage has declined all around. Does this have something to do with rhythm? Could it be compared to if you took away a quarterback's easy completions, their completion percentage beyond 10 yards would decline as well? Sincerely, Crazy Canuck. So I guess that would be Canada has made the list here. That's from Canada, and we appreciate you, Crazy Canuck, for making it outside the igloo for that question. Any thoughts, Sam?
I like it. I think it's a theory that makes some sense. Kicking more than any other position, I think, is all down to mental headspace. Kickers go from being completely viable, good NFL kickers to being on the scrap heap based off a couple of misses, and then it's like you completely lose the plot. You lose all confidence, all ability to do your job, and these guys get cast aside. And suddenly you're introducing more misses to their world. You're introducing more negative plays than they've had to deal with in the past. Those extra points used to just be free kicks. Maybe, the rest of the world considers that just basically a waste of time to put the extra point on. But for kickers, it was like a little confidence boost every time somebody scores. You run out there, you get a cheap gimme, and you're in a good place. Then when you get to attempt a real kick, one that you actually have a chance of missing, you're in a pretty good mental headspace to make that kick. Maybe now you're not there. You're starting from scratch, and you've got to actually rely on your ability to make those kicks.
I think you've talked me into this.
I like it.
You have talked me into it. It's almost like every kicker is like a ticking time bomb before they're going to lose it mentally.
Yeah.
And you just have more opportunities to lose it when you're kicking a 33-yarder versus a 20-yarder.
Every kicker is basically 3 kicks away from being unemployed, being a mental head case and completely unemployed. And the difference is now
that's great.
You can miss one of those kicks on an extra point, whereas before you basically couldn't.
I like it. Crazy Canuck has a great theory. Appreciate it from the Igloo or from the Internet Point. Good question, good comment, and we're in agreement.
Yep.
Poor kickers. Next one. Hey, guys, love the pod. I am #Team Steve and #Team Sam, another fence sitter. You guys bring it every show and never disappoint. Thanks, guys. Love that Sam has not lost his fastball after moving to the side of the pond, and Steve never loses his fastball, in parentheses, off the mound. I know Matthew Stafford, this is the question now. I know Matthew Stafford has been a bit of a lightning rod, but what I saw Monday night at Green Bay showed me enough that he is a top 3 quarterback in the league, that Detroit will make the playoffs, look at their remaining schedule, and that I would rather have him in the playoffs than any of the NFC QBs. His tight window throws and ability to make a few big-time throws during a game leads me to believe that the Lions are going to be a tough out for any of the NFC teams. Your thoughts? Vince Burton in Boston. What's up, Boston?
Local boy to you.
Yeah, to me. My home area. Do you have thoughts? I have some thoughts.
Well, go on. Give me your thoughts.
I would say he's not a top 3 quarterback in the league because being a top 3 quarterback in the league involves some level of consistency. I keep saying, and I did say this on the QB Analysis podcast yesterday where Zach and I broke down Stafford's game in much more depth, his top-end play is top 3 quarterback play. The problem is I can literally think off the top of my head the games in which I've seen that. It was 2014 Week 1 against the New York Giants on Monday Night Football. He was unbelievable. 2015 against the Philadelphia Eagles on Thanksgiving Day. He just tore it up. He was outstanding. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 games last year, and then I would say these last 2 games, most of the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then this game against Green Bay Monday night. And there's a couple more in there, but it's really 2 or 3 times a year we see Stafford just playing like he's feeling it. And that was him feeling it. He was throwing no-look screens. He was throwing off-balance passes, hitting dudes in stride. He was throwing with touch. He was throwing with velocity. He was throwing turkey hole shots. He was doing it all, right? You just don't see it week in, week out. Now, could he be the guy that goes on that Flacco-like run? Flacco's still living off a 4-game run in 2012. Is Stafford capable of that? I think he is. But there's just many times in his career where it's like just 2-game samples for Stafford, and that's it. And that would be where my concern is.
Yeah, even with that game, he is currently tied for 13th in our QB rankings with a grade of 79.7, tied with...
Because those 3 previous games were bad.
Yeah, tied with Kirk Cousins, 1 spot ahead of Derek Carr. But that's the kind of area he's in. I agree entirely that when he is on his best form, he plays some fantastic stuff. He has all the tools you look for. He's got the arm, he's got the size, he's got the ability to make all the throws, as they say. He's got every cliche in the book. It's just the consistency. I really like that idea, though, that he is capable of going on that Joe Flacco run.
Yeah.
Of being a quarterback that is not an elite quarterback or anything like it, but has the ability to have an elite run that will end up in a Super Bowl ring. I think he's definitely got that talent. Can you imagine, Flacco basically got himself one of the richest quarterback deals in NFL history with that 4-game run. Matthew Stafford already has one of the richest quarterback deals in NFL history. What happens if he goes on that one run?
Oh, he's the top guy again. I mean, he was one of the last QBs. Was he not the last? He was the second to last quarterback on that old rookie scale. Sam Bradford was the last one where you're just you step into
$60 million deal.
Brady, Manning, Breeze money as a rookie. Don't even have to earn it. And then he's definitely a guy that if you were to rank quarterbacks, he's in the top half. He's not 8, but he's in the top half, and that's enough to, get another big contract. So
he's going to end up being, depending on how long Brady actually plays, if he goes on till 50 or whatever.
That's a good
But
point.
he's going to end up as probably the best paid quarterback, in terms of career earnings when he's done.
Yeah, Bradford's injury is going to hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Bradford would be up
But
there as
otherwise,
well.
otherwise he's right up there as well.
Yeah, look, there have just been so many times in Stafford's career I'm like, all right, we're ready to do it. He's ready to do it, and it's just a consistency issue. But top-end Stafford is a lot of fun to watch. Quick break to tell you guys that this episode is brought to you by PredictionMachine.com. Prediction Machine, a new generation in sports analytics where they simulate the game 50,000 times before they're actually played. Make better picks with proven data-driven analysis. Subscribe at PredictionMachine.com today and earn a $5 credit that can be used towards the purchase of any package. All right, next question. This question is for Sam. Really can't we get Steve suspended for instigating a fight with all of the South?
You see, you were not pleasant when it came to referring to the South.
I think I apologized at the end.
Possibly.
Maybe Mike would do better. Fans like me actually enjoy hearing him speak. Who is this guy? Anyway, I feel like the Chiefs' offensive problems all stem from their line play. They have all of their starters back, and I thought they would improve against Dallas, but it didn't seem that way. Any thoughts? Would Patrick Ahinger help at all?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. I don't think that Chiefs' offensive line is a particularly good unit at all. They've got some okay players. They've got some players I think that are actually quite good. Mitchell Schwartz is a good right tackle. I think they hang those guys out to dry a little bit in terms of what they ask them to do. There isn't a lot of help for tackles. Those guys are literally on an island. They're asked to just deal with their assignment, and they're not going to get chips. They're not going to get help from inside. They're going to have to man up and deal with it on their own, which for any offensive tackle is a problem when you're in the AFC West and you're going up against Denver twice a year. You're going up against Oakland twice a year and Khalil Mack. You're going against San Diego and Joey Bosa not San Diego, Los Angeles Chargers.
Yeah.
Joey
LA.
Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Those are huge problems. You are hanging those guys out to dry a lot and asking them to block people that are among the best pass rushers in the entire league. So that's an issue. I don't think anyone on that offensive line has really stood out in terms of run blocking, which is a problem because you're asking a rookie in Kareem Hunt to basically generate all of his own yardage, which he's been able to do really well this season, but there's only so long a running back can do that before you're just not able to do it. They understand that this is how this guy's getting yardage. You start swarm tackling him. There just isn't the hole to get through that it used to be. So, yeah, I think a lot of these problems do stem with an offensive line, certainly not being the strength of that team. I think when you look at the rest of that offense, it's the weak link.
Yeah, I don't know if that's all of their issues. Look, Alex Smith has just come back down to earth, pressure or not. And you could tell, Zach and I again discussed this yesterday, you could tell from his first snap, really, he was a little rushed. He was fidgety. And even when he wasn't under pressure. So I think the big difference is Alex Smith's play has regressed a little bit back to Alex Smith. If you just look at his last 3 or 4 weeks, it's good, not great. Whereas early in the season, he was borderline great. He was looking really good. And for what you're saying as far as putting them on an island, truth in that, absolutely. But overall, the scheme with their trickeration, with the option stuff, there's a lot of stuff that protects them as well, screen game included. So I don't think it's an ideal offensive line situation. I don't know that it's impossible to overcome because, again, we're just a few weeks removed from seeing them as the most explosive offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that was from a displaced Chiefs fan living in the South, where all my friends reside. I have a lot of fans in the South, and I like the South.
You can't walk that back now. You took shots at the South earlier this week. You can't try and roll it back just because it's been noticed.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Hey, guys, 2 questions, one for each. Oh, this is ridiculous. Gary. Number 1, Sam, if you were posed with the task of building a winning NFL franchise, what position/unit outside of quarterback would you choose to focus on and why? In this made-up scenario, you also have the power to trade a 5th-round pick for any single player you like who does not play quarterback. Do you start with the O-line, front 7, secondary? Where does 2030 NFL GM of the Year Samuel Monson believe the foundation of an NFL franchise starts outside of the quarterback? And for Steve, mustard, ketchup, or mayo? That's from Gary. Well,
why don't you give your answer for it first before we get into the other one?
Gary seems to email these ridiculous questions every single week. That is definitely your sister chiming in.
I don't think it is. So, yeah, answer yours, and then we'll get into the real meat of this.
Ketchup, you're up.
Ketchup? Okay. So, there's kind of two parts to this.
Yeah, take your time.
I will, yeah. I think that the real place to go on this, you're not going to go with the offensive line because the offensive line is more about how bad your weak link is rather than how good your strongest piece is. So,
be average.
You could get a Joe Thomas type left tackle, but is that really going to do you much good? As long as you can get an average left tackle, you're fine. Joe Thomas has been on the Browns his entire career, and he's never propelled them into the playoffs. So I don't think that's the way to go. The other obvious positions, you're dealing elite pass rusher, or you're dealing with high-level cornerback, shutdown kind of guy. I think the cornerback is a bigger impact player than the front seven guy. So J.J. Watt is the perfect example. He was an absolute, whirling, destructive force for the Texans when he was in his pomp. Aaron Donald for the Rams has been the best player on defense in the entire league, but it wasn't what made the difference for those two teams. Those defenses didn't get dramatically better because of those guys. They got better when they started building around them. Having said that, at secondary, at cornerback, I think you can transform a defense with one guy. And Marshawn Lattimore, I think, is the easiest and most recent example of that this year. Lattimore has come in, first-round pick, looked like a top 10 corner already, is currently the number 1 ranked corner at PFF. And suddenly that Saints defense has been completely transformed. Now, it's not all Lattimore. There's a lot of players on that defense playing better this year than they have in the past. But I think one guy can make that huge impact. So if I'm taking a 5th-round pick and throwing it for any one player to start off, it's either Lattimore or Jalen Ramsey. I think those are your two.
You already have Lattimore up in that space?
Yeah. Well, look, it's got to be a young corner, right? So
yeah, we're building a team.
There's no Rivas. Rivas is gone. Patrick Peterson and Richard Sherman are both getting on in years. Those would be.
I am telling Richard that you said that. Your pen pal,
he's going to
Richard.
DM me every week.
He slides into your DMs every now and again, right?
Even when he plays well and gets a good grade, you think you escape, and then he ends up getting bumped from a PFF graphic, and I get the DM.
We don't like to name drop, but Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
I spend a disproportionate amount of my week answering Richard Sherman DMs.
Okay, so you're going to go Marshawn Lattimore or Jalen Ramsey because you think cornerback is the spot.
I think cornerback is the one position. If you can only get one guy who you're certain is a top high-end player, that's the position that has the single biggest impact.
All right. The question wasn't addressed to me, so I'm not even going to chime in. Next question.
No, you answered your question. It was ketchup.
Yeah, and I'm not going to ask you your opinion on my question, and I don't think you need my opinion on your question. You answered yours. I answered mine. And that's what we're here for on the Mailbag podcast. Good morning, Steve. You called upon your non-American listeners to pop up. Oh, boy, there's some French coming up. So here I am. I'm from Laval, Quebec, the French-speaking part of Canada, world famous for our dish that's Putin.
Putin?
I believe it's Putin.
I was gonna ask. I've never actually seen that pronounced. I've always
shaking
just
your head?
seen the word.
Poutine.
It's not poutine.
It's poutine.
No. So listen, if you guys, who was our Boston?
Not Russia.
Where was our Boston? No, it's Putzin. That's how you're supposed to say it. It's something like that.
What?
Yeah. So Vince Burton from Boston.
Yeah.
My New England listeners will know the show Phantom Gourmet.
Uh-huh.
Great show. Highlights some of the nice eateries around the New England area. And I definitely saw one a couple months back where it was a New Hampshire spot, and they were like, "We've got this poutine," and they were like, "The real name is," and now I can't remember. It was either Putin, the Russian, or it was something that had a Z in there.
So what you're saying is that everybody else thinks it's poutine, right? But based on some show that you heard a while ago.
But they were proud of it. They were like, this is the way you say it in Canada.
That says it was something else, and you have no idea what that pronunciation actually is. It's not poutine.
Sebastian Cote with many different accentos over his letters.
There's a lot of hanging adornments to that name. I'm impressed.
Hanging adornments. So he'll have the pronunciation for us next week. So we'll say poutine for now, not Putzin or Putin. Here's my question. While there's no debate about the existence of a drop-off in talent from the NFL to the CFL, I'd like to get your take about how large that drop-off actually is. After all, Warren Moon, Doug Flutie, and more recently Brandon Browner and Cam Wake have had success in both leagues. Furthermore, Ricky Williams and Chad Johnson both came up here at the end of their careers, admittedly, and did not find success. Gary Peters is up there having success, though. For my part, I think the rule differences are a big factor in this equation. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this subject. Merci, Sebastian Cote.
Can't believe you brought up Gary Peters.
Just saying he's playing well.
I'm just saying, my entire life, I have probably seen about 7 minutes worth of CFL football, and I would imagine 6.5 of those minutes were like Trent Richardson and Ricky Williams highlights showing them, doing well or otherwise in the CFL. So I am in no position whatsoever to answer this question. Are you better positioned to talk about the CFL?
No.
No?
Not at all. I'll tell you who is, though. At PFF_Bryson. Bryson is from Canada, Vancouver area, I believe. Is that right?
I don't know.
Hungary or Vancouver. He's somewhere up there. Is that what did I say? I said Romania for Zoltan.
Yeah, you said Zoltan was in several different countries, none of which he's actually in.
Anyway, Bryson's up in Canada and very familiar with the CFL. And I've heard rumblings around the PFF office about grading some CFL games at some point.
Well, the important thing here is that we've now hit Canada and we've hit Quebec. So we're good. We've got both Canadian areas.
What do you mean? Quebec is in Canada.
I know, yeah, but they're very, territorial. You have to separate the two. You can't just lump Quebec in with Canada
if you want
and
to
say we've got it covered.
So the guy that was in the igloo,
yes,
you're saying is an English.
I'm saying he's like a regular Canadian. Now we've got Quebecois as well.
We have French-speaking Canadian.
Yes,
Canada. We have
and
French
Canadians. And you've got to have both. You can't just have one.
I thought you were trying to.
No.
I taught you that Maryland's in the South. You were trying to teach me that Quebec is not a part of Canada.
No, I'm just saying you need to have both covered in order for you to have truly hit Canada.
They are like the Texas of Canada, though. Texas wants to secede, and so does.
There's a little bit of a difference, I think, between Texas and Quebec.
More similar than you think, Sam. How are the Chiefs so much worse defensively?
We're learning a lot in this podcast.
Yeah, really. Without Eric Berry, where he doesn't help all that much with the things that they are bad at. That's run defense, pass rush, and their number 2 cornerback spot. Thanks. That's just Matt. Matt with 2 T's. I will say run defense, he is a very key contributor.
Yes, I think he probably also helps the number 2 corner bit as well in terms of being able to lean coverage in that direction. By the way, how else would you be spelling Matt? Is there a 1T variant?
There's a lot of 1T Matts out there.
No, there aren't.
Yes,
a
there
1T
are.
Matt is something you wipe your feet on. It's not a human being's name.
Yes, there are also people that use that as their name.
No, that's not true.
Please don't insult our listeners. There's definitely a 1T Matt out there, and we want to hear from you, by the way. But there's definitely a 1T Matt out there. There might be a 3T Matt.
A 1T
Taylor.
Matt is a spelling mistake. It's someone that hasn't had their name run through spell check.
Listen, once it gets on to the birth certificate, it's official. Okay? There's a 1T Matt out there. It's likely one of our millions of listeners.
Right.
Please don't insult him.
Okay.
He'll be emailing next week.
You're insulting the entire South. I'm insulting the one guy whose name is spelled
I don't
wrong.
even know what you're talking about. So Matt with 2 T's.
Okay, Eric Berry.
Eric Berry's the question.
I think there's a failure in the premise of the question. This 2017 Kansas City defense is not the 2016 Kansas City defense minus Eric Berry. It's a different unit. Every single year, a defense is different. So you can't just say they're without this guy this year. Therefore, that's the only thing that's different.
But the only time we saw Eric Berry on the field, they shut down the New England offense. Essentially, 27 points to New England. Brady had trouble completing passes week 1. So that was.
I think he does.
Where we're coming
he
from.
does impact a lot of areas within that defense. He is a guy that has shown that he can play in the box. He can play deep at safety. You can move him around a lot. You can man him up with tight ends like Rob Gronkowski. You can do a lot with Eric Berry within your defense. So it's not simply a case of saying he's a strong safety. He's only in the box. He's only dealing with a certain narrow area of the defense. He is impacting everything. So now maybe pass rush isn't really his thing. You're only taking away whatever he gains on the blitz, which isn't a huge amount. But he definitely is a big factor in the run defense. He's an extra guy in that box who can plug a lane and do so well. And number 2 corner, he is tightening those windows. He is making things more difficult. So I think he does impact a lot of that defense.
Yeah, the other thing I would say, too, in week 1, he was playing one-on-one man coverage against Rob Gronkowski, and it looked like he's done that at times throughout his career where he's just the, lock down the tight end man coverage guy. There is a little bit of trickle-down effect to that. If you take away, the team's, a lot of times their most favorite target, their outlet, the tight end, there is a trickle-down to the other coverage positions. I just think you are seeing natural regression or just regression in general in other areas. They're not getting as much pass rush beyond Justin Houston. I think Barry's a factor in the run defense. Maybe the coverage unit. The number 2 cornerback spot was always going to be an issue. We just didn't see it in week 1 that much, right? That's all it is.
Now we have one final question. And again...
You want to handle it?
No. I just want to bring up the point that your fans, again, take things to a slightly creepy place. How does this email...
now you're insulting people more.
How does this email begin, Steve?
Steve, my moon and stars.
There you go. Now, between that and the guy tattooing your face on his back, we're going to weird places with your fans that we just don't go to with mine. I'm just saying that.
My fans might just be a little bit more dedicated, a little bit more hardcore.
That's definitely one way of describing it. Not the way I would choose, but sure, let's roll with that.
Let's see what my dedicated fans came up with. Steve, my moon and stars, please view my attached MS Paint diagram again. A man after my own heart.
Hitting all the Steve buttons so far.
Just in case MS Paint isn't clear, this play takes advantage of the rule that you can regain eligibility as a receiver by taking 3 steps inbounds or by having another offensive receiver touch the ball. The overarching concept is a receiver runs out of bounds behind his team on the bench. This can be used purely as a trick play by having the defender chase him out of bounds and run into someone on the bench. Even if he doesn't collide with anyone out of bounds, both the cornerback and safety over the top will surely be confused, and this will create separation. I believe this concept is robust enough to use for more than a trick play. Having a line of people on the bench running a pick on the defender must be extremely valuable for creating separation. I could also foresee variations done with tiny receivers, so you could not see them behind their team. You could also have people with helmets on running around on the sidelines as decoys. Sincerely, Bill C.
So does this only work if you're running to your own sideline?
I think it helps.
Yeah.
I think here's the deal. We have to... Did you talk to Ben about this? Ben's our rule expert.
So we've got some confusion, right? Ben seems to think that this 3-step thing is only an NCAA rule, not an NFL rule. He also seems to think it's only 2 steps, not 3, despite the fact that this guy appears to have copied and pasted what looks like a rule book, which says 3 steps. So I'm now questioning whether Ben actually knows what he's talking about or not. Ben is our supposed rule expert, by which I mean he has the rule book and has at least opened it on more than one occasion.
Oh, I think he reads it because he sends us updated PDFs every year. Like, hey guys, you need your updated rule book. And I'm pretty sure he has a day where he sits down and reads it.
I don't think he does. I think he just sends that out and says, you need to be on top of this, guys, just like I am, even though I haven't actually opened it yet.
So we defer to him all the time, and he really doesn't know what he's talking about.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Okay.
So, but anyway, he thinks that this is illegal because he thinks that the NCAA, you have that rule where you can run out of bounds. He thinks the NFL is the same for receivers as it is for punters, where you can't just run out of bounds. You have to make an effort to get back on the field.
You can't just willingly run out of bounds.
The Steve Tasker rule. Steve Tasker was a small receiver and gunner, and his thing was, look, these guys are huge, they're trying to jam me, I'm just going to run off the field and get around them that way. So they were like, look, you're taking the piss now, you can't do that. We're going to have to, if you go out off the field, you have to get back as soon as humanly possible, otherwise you're just cheating.
Right. Steve Tasker, friend of the show.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hi, Steve. Ben at least thinks the same thing with... it's true for receivers in the NFL. It's not in college, but it is for the NFL. At which point, the entire premise of this play is blown dead right there.
No, I disagree. I don't care. I mean, it's an NFL podcast. There's no doubt. This still needs to be unpacked.
Okay.
I mean, illegal or not. I think
there's a few layers to this that intrigue me.
So I don't think this. Here's the thing: once you run out of bounds, I don't think the sideline matters. The first time you do it, you run out of bounds. Everybody's going to be confused. They might leave you alone. The extra sideline antics, though, might make this reoccurring play.
Well,
like you could pull it off a couple times.
The first thing is, have you taken a look at an NFL sideline recently? There's all kinds of crap out there. There's slippery stuff on the floor. Like, it's a bad place to be running.
Yeah, but if you know you're going to run it and it's along your own sideline,
I feel like
you can set things up a little bit.
Okay. 2, I really like the idea of trying to set like pick plays with your own players on the sideline. I run past you and then you guys just form a wall and suddenly the cornerback is walled off. I think that has some entertaining merit to it.
I'm really intrigued by the diagram here, which is a pretty good MS Paint rendition.
Yeah.
We've got the slot guy running a post, and then the backside guy is just going to run a little 5-yard in, according to this. I don't know why that's the backside of the play.
Just for completeness purposes. You need something on that, and that guy's got to dig.
Do we have the right number of players? By the way, the quarterback is a New York Jets version of Sam Darnold.
We do have 11 players on defense.
We have Steve Palazzolo on the sideline. Who's that under me?
We only have 10 guys on offense, though. Oh, no, we don't. We have Darnold. I forgot. We have the quarterback is actually a picture of the quarterback.
It's a picture of Darnold. But there's only 10 O's.
Yeah, 10 O's and the picture. So we're good. We have 11 guys.
Here's the other thing. It looks like we're in a 7-man protection, which is important because you kind of need time.
You're going to need about 5 minutes to get
your
this
receiver.
route off.
So time is an issue. You brought up the point. What if the slot guy is the targeted guy, and it's a little tip drill to his buddy?
Yeah, so forget the 3 steps thing, right? You're not taking advantage of the fact that this guy needs to run back on in bounds and take 3 steps and then he's eligible. You're taking advantage of the fact that as soon as somebody else touches the ball, he's good, right?
Right.
So normally that only comes up if there's some kind of chaotic ricochet or a Hail Mary play where a guy stepped out, and as soon as someone else touches it, you're good to try and catch that. What if you design the thing as like a hook and ladder rebound thing?
Okay.
So this guy runs out of bounds, runs some sort of deep kind of looping post thing. The slot guy runs deep down the field. It's a jump ball to him. He's not trying to catch it. All he's trying to do is to get up in the air and bat it back volleyball style to the guy that ran out of bounds, who can now loop underneath it and catch this ball. It's been tipped back to him, and he's completely eligible from that point.
Yeah, so then you don't have to worry about what the actual NFL rule is. That is acceptable.
Unless you need to get back on the field as soon as you run out of bounds, in which case it's still illegal.
So it's maybe doable, is what we're looking at here.
Well, depending on whether Ben knows his rules or not, which is undetermined as yet.
Well, I'm going to make Ben open up that rule book, and
I was going to say, because I'm not going to lie. There's no chance in hell that I am going and researching whether that rule holds up or not.
I put a picture of this on our Instagram story today. Maybe I'll update it the next couple days. Keep it on the story. We'll tweet it out. But it's at least a good picture. It's something to mull over.
It is a good MS Paint play diagram.
Is it wall worthy? Is it going to end up on the wall next to the Hail Mary?
Taylor certainly seems to think so.
Yeah, Taylor's giving me the yes. So Bill C, look, A for effort. Appreciate the picture. Love the picture of Steve Palazzolo. I think it's going up on the wall. All right, Sam, you in a better mood now?
Sure.
Well, there you have it. You guys cheered Sam right up so we can get to some meetings and he won't be a miserable Irishman.
Ben is saying we just lost a listener by insulting him, but though he makes the point after this podcast to find out exactly how we insulted him.
Yeah, so he has to listen.
Yes, he's going to listen this once, and then he's done with us.
Oh, well, I feel like we've earned a listener, at least for this episode.
Although he also just made the point that if we insult him every podcast from now on, he has to keep listening.
All right, we'll have a whole section. Throw that on the schedule there, Taylor. We're going to insult Ben once per episode. We cheered Sam up. That's you guys. We appreciate it. Podcasts at profootballfocus.com. That's how you guys get in touch with us. Keep sending us questions, suggestions, rule changes, and MS Paint diagrams. Don't forget to tune in to our Week 10 preview, where we will bring the great Mike Renner back onto the podcast, a little 3-man booth for that. And don't forget to get to profootballfocus.com. Grab PFF Edge and Elite $10 off, guys, when you use the promo code PFF10 on any PFF product. All right, that'll do it. We'll talk to you guys next time.